Okay, so welcome back to part 3, ZSB rebuild. So a lot of cycle parts are painted. We're just picking up some of the odds and ends now. And the worst bit of news is I painted the frame. The frame's now looking pretty good, but I'm still not happy with that headstock, and I think it's a bit twisted, so we're still going to have to go and see if we can sort out that headstock and just straighten it up a bit. Not until I started to paint it that I really realised that it's still a bit out, so we will have to address that, I think. And as far as the motor goes, I haven't really done much to the motor since the last episode. I've just been looking at a lot of the bearings. I can see straight away that this output bearing, and I've just knocked it out, is a little bit crunchy. We can focus on that. I don't think that's anything to do with the engine blow up. I think that was on its way out anyway. None of the other bearings are showing any evidence of any damage, and them output bearings, they are prone to that sort of damage. So I've removed the seal and I've removed the bearing, and we'll have to look at replacing those. It's quite a good tip. This wheel's absolutely filthy. It's actually quite a new tyre, so I don't know, it manages to be so absolutely filthy. The whole thing's just filthy. Even the disc's filthy. I don't want to use expensive cleaners on this. I'm trying to do this bike as well as cheaply as possible. Sif will really bring this up. You won't even recognise it. It's really come up really nice. Pity the rim so beaten up, but I might just touch that rim up a bit actually. Won't do any harm. That wheel's actually come up a treat. Okay, so one of the other problems you had is that the ignition switch had been messed around with, or something wasn't quite right with it. Both the bolts seem to be, the ignition switch was loose, but both the bolts were seized. They didn't look like the right bolts. I managed to get one out. It was horrendous and really badly seized. I actually basically had to take it out with the impact driver, but eventually got it out. And you can see there's no corrosion on that, so I don't understand why that was causing a problem. Maybe it was bottomed out and damaged. I have no idea. The other one, even cutting a slot in it, welding it, impact driver in it, it snapped in the end, and you can snap it's very uneven. So this one's gonna have to be drilled out. So we've got everything worked out here. We've got the super starter drill, whatever they're called, all lined up. So we'll just give this a whirl. Okay, now the full size drill. Okay, super pleased with that. Looks good. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run a tap through, see if I can salvage what thread's in there. If not, we'll have to helicoil it. Okay, so hopefully that'll tighten up. That'll be good. It feels really good actually. I think that's a good repair. I'm sort of happy with that. I think we'll leave it there. That looks ace. Absolutely ace. Okay, so just going to check the rest of these threads on this. I'm just going to run the tap through. A lot of the threads on this bike are quite dirty, so just run the tap through. It just makes sure, it's two things really, that the thread's good and that the thread's clean, so when I come to assemble it, it'll just go together well. I'd rather find out I've got a bad thread now and put it together, find I've got a bad thread, I've taken it apart again to fix it. So It takes a minute. You can see the garbage coming out of that thread. See that? I'm super happy with that. It's all cleaned up. All threads repaired. Ah, looks great that. Everything. It looks all good. So final wipe down, that'll be ready for some paint. Alright, onwards and upwards. Let's carry on, see if we can start to get the back wheel assembly sorted out. Looking at the sprocket carrier, I can see there's quite a bit of damage around here. The seal looks knackered. I think what we'll do is give this a good clean up. Take that damaged seal out and replace that seal, a new one in there. It feels absolutely rock hard. We'll clean this up a bit and we'll see what the bearing's like. The brake plate looks fine, can't see any damage to it. It's just really dirty. I think it just needs a really good clean, a bit of a polish up. Okay, something strange going on with here. This has got an insert inside the bearing, focus there, which I can't seem to remove. I've tried to tap it out. I'm just going to damage the bearing and end up with a knackered spacer and a knackered bearing. So I think discretion's a better part of valor here, and I think I'll just leave that. The bearing feels nice and smooth, and it's a Taiwanese bearing in there, which probably means it's not original. I guess it's been replaced. And judging by the damage around here, it looks like we've had a chain come off at some point. See that? Anyway, I've tidied all this up with the file. Looks a million times better. And the back plate, well, the brake plate, looks better than new now. And the brake shoes look pretty much brand new. They say GN125 on them, so they're not original. I don't even think they need to clean, really. I think I'll just give them a wipe over and they can go straight back in. And I can see there's like a little recess here for an O-ring, so that's focused. But let's have a good look through the O-ring box and see if we can find something that fits. Okay, that seems to fit. I think it's 14.1 times 1.6. Some bizarre size anyway. Seems to fit quite neatly in there. Okay, so put the shoes in. I put a little bit of grease on the spindle, but I don't grease the pivot points on a drum brake. I just find that'll just collect loads of muck, and it'll just stick to it, and it's not really going to work as a grease, and it'll just make a little grinding paste, so it'll just make the brake feel horrible. So I just leave it clean, don't put any grease on it. Good news with the frame. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm absolutely made up. I've managed to actually straighten the frame after quite a few attempts. Now I haven't videoed it because I just didn't know whether it was going to work or not, so I haven't got any video of it actually in work, but I'll just talk through what I tried, what didn't work and what worked. So first of all, what we did was we got a great big giant tanker bar, huge big 5-foot crowbar, huge, really heavy. What we tried to do was we jacked the car up and we put some wood down between the frame and the car and between the frame and the ground. We load the car onto the frame to hold it still on the tow bar, so the tow bar is pressing down on the frame, and put the tanker bar on it, but the car wasn't heavy enough. The car's a full-size family saloon, it just lifted it right up in the air. So it was no good. Plus you got the suspension in there. I was frightened of lifting it off the jacks and stuff like that. So that just wasn't going to work. So change of plan. What we did was we found the ground anchor. Let me just show you that. Got just a homemade ground anchor. It's just a huge linker chain, like a big chain link, a boat anchor chain or whatever, and it's just screwed down into the concrete. So what we did was we put the down tube of the frame through the link. Tightened it up and then put a crowbar right through the end of the frame here. You can see the marks on the frame, and straightened up, and it's worked. The frame's now nice and straight. I'm super pleased with it. It's come out absolutely. I'm made up with that. That's absolutely spot on. Superbly straight. You see that? Oh, made up. Woo! Success. So if you do need to do it, that's how to do it. Trying to brace it was just impossible. So you just actually need to lock it down.